Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to episode number 27 of 5 Minutes with Gray Hair Dave. My name's Dave. I have gray hair, hence Gray Hair Dave. Got a gray beard, got glasses, just like the guy on the artwork, except I think he's better looking. Anyways, here we go. So, episode number 27. I know I talked a lot about football last time because I was pretty excited. Kansas City Chiefs winning again. You gotta love it. There are going to be those out there who don't love it, but I'm sorry, I do. I'm a Kansas City fan and I love it. I was watching it with some friends and they were all San Francisco fans except for one and myself. And it was quite exciting to watch them be unhappy with what was going on also. But, anyways, let's go on to other things. ChatGPT says that number 27 on my list, life in different decades. Compare and contrast life in different decades. Well, that could take a couple of shows if I wanted it to, but I don't know that I wanted to. The 60s were, let's be honest, the 60s were a slower time. They were starting to speed up. The 50s were slow, from what I understand. I don't remember anything about the 50s, as far as I can tell, because I was a newborn. And because I was born in 57, so what am I going to what really am I going to remember? Just what, my brothers tell me or my parents told me. But that's not what's going on. The 60s is when things were starting to change. I'm a firm believer that rock and roll changed the world and changed the world in which we live. How it permeated every part of my life and every part around it. It was just an amazing, amazing thing. And it went from the Beatles and Elvis to the times where it was more folk music, Peter, Paul, and Mary type of a thing, where then it led into more of the hippie revolution, into the Jimi Hendrix revolution with Woodstock and all those fun things. It's a different scenario. The 70s is where things calmed down. The Vietnam War was ending. Nixon was going out of power. Music had changed. And I know I keep talking about music a lot. But I like music. And music, to me, is where the decades change. Because you had rock, you had the hard rock and roll, like the Jimi Hendrix and the Joe Cockers and, just the hard guys. And then you get into the 70s where things start to lighten a little bit with the Elton Johns, the Barry Manilows, the balladeers, I guess maybe you would say. But that was my opinion. Culture wise, long hair was in the 70s. In the 60s, long hair was starting. It went from, not just buzz cuts, but short hair to longer hair. And then in the late 60s, early 70s, all the way through the 80s and 90s, long hair was in again for guys. And for girls, the jeans were in, and I'll tell you what, the best thing that ever happened to girls was jeans, in my mind. Because girls in jeans, Dad, gotta love that. It just do. But anyways, I'm not going to get too deep into that because I don't want to get in any kind of trouble here. And then in the middle to late part of the 70s, this new fad of music came in called disco. Everybody thought disco was going to kill rock and roll. I'm sorry, folks. You just can't kill rock and roll. It's still here today. You listen to classic rock stations and anything else, and rock and roll is still here. It's still good. People are still paying to see it in concerts, and people are still listening to it on whatever device they're using today. Disco lasted alongside rock, and country music had always been there. It had always been there, and it evolved also. Now that could be a couple of shows talking about how country music evolved from the Tammy Wynette's and the Georges, the George Joneses of that era to the Oak Ridge Boys and Alabama, and then you merged into the Garth Brooks types and Tim McGraw, the big shows. I mean, the really big shows of those guys to where we are today, and that's a whole lot of change. I think the country music has done the most changing in my lifetime compared to others. Rock and roll is still rock and roll. Don't get me wrong. There's hard rock and roll. There's metal. There's just all kinds of rock and roll, and then there's hip hop, and then there's jazz. There's still ballads out there, balladeers. There's still all of that. It's just changing slower. And I don't want to say changing slower. I think it's really started to define itself. I mean, today in today's world, you've got the Michael Bublé's and the Harry Connick Juniors, those types of players who were more the Dean Martin and Frank Sinatra type, and there are era of those. I was around towards the end of all of that, but it was not something that I ever indulged a lot in. I like their music. I still listen to some of it, but it's changed a bit. But and then in the '80s, disco finally did kind of, I don't want to say die. It changed. Disco changed. Disco did it just kind of sloped off and went down to a slow roar, and people still listen to it. I still listen to it once in a while. I find some of it very interesting, and some of it very good. But it's just the more I think about it, I don't want to say that disco died because I don't think disco did die. But anyways, and then we go into the 2000s, and there's just it's really great. I love what's going on in the 2000s. So, anyways, we're at that time of day where it's let's talk about because I can, I believe I have to, or I must. Because I don't agree with what you're saying, I have to shame others who don't agree with my views. You see that all over the place. Well, because you don't agree with me, you're automatically wrong. Well, I don't believe that that's true. A lot of folks now they just don't, they are unwilling to accept somebody, a different point of view. They are unwilling to believe there is more than one opinion for everything. Well, that stop sign is red. The stoplight red is red, right? No, it's not red. That just you can't tell me what to do. Okay, that's not what the cop's going to say. It's things like that. Or you I believe that all student loans should be forgiven. Okay, that would be great, but somehow somebody's got to pay for that stuff. So I don't think they should. Oh, you're absolutely wrong. You can't believe that. Oh no, they should automatically be. Education should be free. It is free in 1 through 12, and it ain't free. Your parents' tax dollars paid for that. All of us baby boomers out here, we're paying for that. Now we're paying for student loans, and half of us paid for our kids to go to college anyways. I'm not going to get into that. I'm not getting there. You're not going to get me there yet. But that's just it. I mean, that's what's out there. I mean, is that right? Because you don't agree with me, you're absolutely wrong, and I must shut you down? No, that's wrong. You have to learn to live in a plural society where there are differences in opinions and varying opinions. It's absolutely fine to be that way. Folks, if you're not a baby boomer and you believe this to be true, please leave me a message and explain to me why. And if you're a baby boomer and don't believe in this crap either, leave me a message and tell me why. All you got to do is go to 5minuteswithgrayhairdave.com. That's the number 5minuteswithgrayhairdave.com. In the bottom right-hand corner, tap on that microphone with your cursor and leave me a message. I appreciate you all being here today. Look forward to tomorrow with some more insights. And hey, let's go out there today and let's all have a good time, because life is short. And if you don't believe that, you never know what's coming tomorrow. You could be hit by a bus. You never know. I might be driving. Anyway, folks, have a great day, and we'll talk to you tomorrow. Remember, this is Gray Hair Dave. Tell your friends. If your friends don't know how to use the podcast apps, show them for me, please. Thanks. Bye-bye.